In this episode, we are going to talk about podcast managers. In the world of audiovisual, technology advances fast and startups flourish every year. Since radio creation, listening techniques do not stop evolving, and it is the web users who lead the dance. Recently, radios are in competition by what we call podcasters. Surfing on the digital wave, they use podcast to fulfill the web users' needs to have access to information wherever they are. And companies are losing no time to get into this promising market. To allow podcasts to not lose their popularity, many of them go on the podcast manager market. But what is a podcast manager? To understand what a podcast manager is, it is first important to know what a podcast is. A very recent term, also known as podcasting, is a technique that allows audio and video files to be distributed over the internet. So far, nothing too innovative. However, it is in the way the files are published that podcasts differ, that they are based on technology called really simple syndication, better known by the acronym RSS. This technique allows users to immediately listen to their files or download them and automatically send them back to their MP3 player for later playback. The question we can now ask ourselves is, what types of software can manage these podcasts? And this is where podcast managers come in. There are softwares, applications or services to which the internet user will subscribe to that make it possible to record and manage the podcast. In general, podcast managers are platforms such as Spotify, SoundCloud, or iTunes that will allow you to download files of your favorite podcasters as soon as they are online. The only condition for this to work is a good internet connection. However, podcast managers offer other features to podcast creators. They allow podcasters to manage the editing, formatting of their files. The podcast manager will support them and help them throughout the process of creating the final version of their podcast. Podcasters therefore benefit from many tools, allowing them to make their podcast more dynamic and attractive. Among other things, they will also be able to delete passages, modify the podcast process, and add text or images to create something visual or even make a mini teaser. So, podcasting is a major trend that is made to last. Whether professionals or amateurs, many bloggers and influencers have embarked on this adventure. Storytelling, songs, reports, you name it, podcasts can take different forms. Even the national radio stations have been tempted. And guess which podcast manager they have chosen? LiLiCAST. We based our application on a major innovation in the field of podcast managers, social networks. Whether Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, social networks have taken a major place in the digital world, and podcasts are no exception to this trend. These networks are now the best tool to increase the audience and attract new internet users. However, many podcast managers do not take this feature into account, and this is where we decided to stand out. Our web application has been designed to satisfy everyone, from podcasters and communication teams to radio hosts. The idea is simple: to highlight your audio content by visually transforming it so that it can be adapted to social networks. You can then add text, images, GIFs, even emojis to make your podcast even more entertaining. For radio hosts, our tool is useful because it offers all the features you need to manage your programs whenever you want. Promoting on the internet has never been so fast and easy. Don't hesitate any longer and join the LiLiCAST adventure.